Telecom continue to rule the world. Uzi goes godlike.
This is what peak League of Legends looks like.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the mid-season invitational from beautiful Reykjavik, Iceland. Yesterday gave us international upset and new meta-defining picks, and today's matches present another opportunity to hear the Mad Lions roar. I'm Sjokz, joined by my analysts for today, Kadril and Dagda, for the second day of the group stage. As the players are getting ready, you can never miss Pabu, even if he's kilometers away.
He's a highlighter.
He's a highlighter with that fantastic hair. So, welcome everyone to the State Farm Analyst Desk, and Dagda, a very special welcome to you, caster for the LPL, and I would say then resident RNG fanboy?
A little bit, yeah. And I'm here to spread the good word of the LPL, especially since they're going to be playing twice today. So thank you very much for having me.
No problem at all. I am super excited. So let's get a quick refresher of yesterday and take a look at our current standings. Of course, we haven't seen that much yet, but that doesn't mean we can make a couple of conclusions. Yesterday's matches gave us so much to talk about. And yeah, I'd love to know from my analyst, maybe Kadril, you can go first, what the most interesting group dynamic is for you after day one.
I think to me it's mostly Group C, I would say, although Damwon did kind of dismantle Cloud9 in a very good fashion, I would say. I think they're the favorites to get out of the group, but Gillette Infinity and Detonation Focus Me looked pretty even in their game. A little bit of an overreach from DFM, lost in the game against Infinity. You know, Cody was popping off on the sidelines, but I still think that this group is interesting because you would expect it to be LCS and LCK to get out, but I think today we'll see what these teams are made of and how they match up against each other.
Yeah, DFM is playing Cloud9 later. Dagda, which out of Group A and B is for you the most interesting at this point?
It's definitely Group B. I mean, looking at PSG Talon not actually being able to take down Mad Lions, and then you got the Wildcats as well, who weren't able to take down Pain Gaming despite the massive lead that they had at the start. It feels like Group B can really go anyone's way, with at least Mad Lions for the moment topping the charts.
Yeah, great point. And of course, the Brazilian fans are waiting for that revival of Brazil on the international stage. In Group A, since it's only 3 teams for now, it's looking dire for Pentanet. But remember, they have a lot more games to play. And yesterday gave us a lot to talk about in terms of meta as well. The MSI meta is already beginning to take shape. We were super excited to see what 11.9 would bring. And yeah, Dagda, I mean, from what I've seen, it's a very interesting meta to watch as a spectator, and a lot of new picks coming onto the stage.
Yeah, certainly. Especially when you look towards that jungle, you're looking towards like the Rumble, the Morgana coming up now. We have that Lee Sin as well. And when you look towards the 100% presence between Rumble and Lee Sin, it's kind of cool to see that we've mixed it up so much. And especially when we're looking at as well these AP junglers coming in, the flexibility that these 3 picks offer, because you can look at like Rumble, Lee Sin, both going solo lanes and jungles. When we're looking at AP junglers as well, just being able to bring in like AD mid laners and mix up that dynamic as well. It really feels like we're starting to get a huge amount of toys for these players to play with, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they want to bring out.
And this champion on your screen to me just stands out as the strongest champion on the patch. Rumble, I mean, you saw Way on it yesterday, he had his hands on it. Chaz also had his hands on it. They lost, unfortunately, but I think it's so strong in the jungle. I think Dagda hit on it. The flexibility of these picks is what makes them so crucial, and I saw a few small intricacies that gave a little bit away in the drafts where Lee Sin was being banned a lot on blue side, and I think that's because they don't want to blind pick Lee Sin. It can get countered in either top or mid, whereas on red side it looks a lot stronger. So those are the small things I'm looking at when it comes to Lee Sin. But Rumble, this champion, honestly, the ultimate can zone away the whole backline with the Night Harvester, level 6, overheat with the Q, the Zhonyas. It controls fights so much, and in a dragon-centric meta, with lots of skirmishes around the dragon, I think that these kind of ultimates that control the zones are so important.
I mean, Dagda, it just looks too broken, right? I don't figure that a lot of teams will let it through anymore.
No, I mean, I really felt sorry yesterday. I mean, the Rumble ult came down from Way, and you see the Jinx heal. She's trying to run away, and still she gets away with like a quarter HP from just that equalizer alone. So I think you've got a huge amount of damage there that you can play with. And as Kadril was saying, I mean, when you look towards skirmishes, when you look towards these early fights, that's where you really get to see the power of these picks.
Yeah, and I think that the most interesting thing to me on this patch with Rumble Lee Sin is the outplay potential you have. Like, we saw Armut on the Lee Sin. We haven't seen too many Lee Sins pop off yet, but Lee Sin being meta in 3 different roles with Rumble, all these skirmishes, lots of outplay. place to look out for lots of small mechanical intricacies, which I'm so excited for.
We were talking about it in rehearsal, but it was Froggen who played Lee Sin mid back in season
2, season 3, I think,
season 3 or something. So the guy was ahead of the curve. But yeah, true. And I think especially for you guys as casters, Dagda, it's really cool to see these kinds of picks, right? Really playmaking picks that can completely turn a team fight around, even if you're behind.
Yeah, definitely, especially when you're looking at like the Lee Sin. We always love seeing picks like this for the insect and these kind of things, but certainly I love when we've got a meta that's so defined by the junglers right now, where you're looking, or at least a tournament even, sorry, you're looking at like Canyon, Yoya, Wei, giving these playmaking tools into the hands of these mechanically gifted players just brings so much more excitement. And we even got to see it yesterday where these guys were just having fun, even Wei flashing over the Krugs to see if he could steal some of them away in their game.
Absolutely. So a lot of interesting picks and bans, all part of the action here at MSI. We saw a number of surprising match results, including Pain Gaming's win over the fast-pay Wildcats. Dagda, that was really a crazy game to watch because the Wildcats were so far ahead, but somehow Pain crawled back.
Yeah, I was looking, I was like a 2,400 gold lead for Holy Phoenix at the 15-minute mark. I was like, this game's over. I'm going to dip to the shops while I can get ready. And then next thing you know, Darius things happened. As Robo came in, looked absolutely amazing in this skirmish that's on your screen at the moment. And it really does give a lot of credence to Pain Gaming, where even though we have legends like brTT that aren't really able to step up, this team still has a lot of talent from Robo, from Tin Owns as well in that mid lane that can carry these fights, and you really cannot count out the CB LoL team.
Yeah, you definitely can't. And I think if you look at this matchup historically between the CB LoL and the TCL is now 8-5 after that loss yesterday. And I think that the most important thing I've seen from this game especially, and the Detonation Focus Me and Gillette Infinity game, is the team that overreaches in these fights is losing. And I'm not sure if that comes down to nerves or just stage fright, but these teams are diving way too deep into fights. Istanbul Wildcats obviously going really far into their jungle, almost up to tier 2s. And you're just way too spread out, way too split up. They get a numbers advantage in the fight, and then that's how they throw the game.
Yeah, that sometimes happens with MSI rookies. They just go too deep, but we love to see it as well. And after that win, Laure checked in with brTT, and he and Pain Gaming are confident they'll make Brazil and the CB LoL proud.
An interview, you told me on this very same stage where I'm standing right now that you cherish this opportunity to play on the international stage, especially since you've been playing for so long. So now that you're back, is there anything you would like to tell the fans who've been waiting for your return?
I would have to say is, like, this year will be different, dude. We're gonna make, like, the world respect Brazil. Like, I only play for this moment. Like, I live for this moment. To play internationally, to play, like, MSI Worlds, and to make the world respect our region as a good region on League of Legends. So I'll do my best. Our team will do the best. I'll give my blood here for this, so they can expect this.
You heard the man. Respect the CB LoL, respect Pain Gaming. Thank you so much, brTT, for this interview, and good luck on your next games.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, fantastic. Respecta is, of course, part of brTT's phrase, and he's such a legend in the scene. It's lovely to see Pain Gaming stepping up here. Another notable result yesterday for some was how handily the Mad Lions were able to beat PSG, and PSG just not really showing up on day one.
Yeah, and I think PSG coming to Storm was almost like the 5th best team on paper that people regarded, and the Mad Lions...
Third for scrims,
Oh,
apparently.
third for scrims as well from that leak, yeah, and from the general manager we saw on Twitter. But yeah, this team, they looked kind of shaky. I think Mad Lions, they had a good level 1 plan, PSG. I have to give them credit with the invade. It did shut down the bot lane in Mad Lions for about a minute. Yeah. From then onwards, it felt like the control from jungle bot side was just way too much. It snowballed into mid. And although Armut was quite quiet on this Lee Sin top, I think that him getting the TP advantage in lane, using it towards the bot side, being self-sufficient there is what helped Mad Lions as well. But definitely the biggest driving factors were Ariolia and Kaiser, and then Karzi on the Tristana.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think the biggest worry for me coming into this tournament was going to be looking at that bot side for Mad Lions. This game alleviated so many of those worries. Having Karzi and Kaiser step up massively, performing well in lane, those early skirmishes in around Dragon Pit, just solidifying that lead, which they could snowball out of control with. This is exactly what I wanted to see out of Mad Lions.
And for PSG, of course, no man overboard, yet we know that their ceiling is higher than what we saw yesterday. Same for C9, actually. They were up versus the world champion in Damwon. That's always a rough one to start off with, Dagda, but there are also some positives we can take from Cloud9's performance.
yeah, certainly when we look at that bottom side of the map, I was really impressed with the way Sven and Vulcan were able to manage the 2v2. They got off to a great lead. We saw 3 kills go in the way of this Varus. And this was where we were able to get the skirmishes going, as you can see on your screen right now. And it actually looked pretty good for C9 until we looked topside. And then you go, hang on a second, Khan has been left completely on his own for this entire game. He's invading into the jungle. He's getting this deep vision. He's solo killing Blabber. Like, it just all started to fall apart from that stage when Damwon were able to get control of the map.
Yeah, Damwon, although the draft was questionable, you would argue, by some, I think that they had a couple of key components which I think that you can't give to Damwon again. The first one was giving the first pick Morgana to Canyon, having jungle priority on Blabber, having a faster clear, getting the double crab in the early game, and Canyon being ahead just made it a disaster from the start of the game. I think C9 had a lot of scaling. Damwon had a lot of pushing lanes, which I think they used fantastically. No matter what C9 did on the map, the pushing lanes made sure that the plays that C9 made were either losses or barely even at a point. And then, like Dagda said, Khan on the Gnar with the pushing lane, he was left alone to do whatever he wants. Canyon didn't go up there, Blabber didn't go up there, and he was basically killing Blabber in his jungle at level 5. That was nuts.
Yeah, that sucked. And it was also very scary if you look at that. That's a world champion playing. You may get the kills, but they are getting everything else on the map. And while they won out in their game yesterday versus Cloud9, Damwon in 2021 does look slightly different than we've seen in the past. We've noted it already. We have Koma and Pumandu in the coaching staff, but most notably on the Rift, Khan is there instead of Nagari. Dagda, you're very familiar with the both of them. How do you feel Damwon has changed their profile when you've seen them play at MSI and in the LCK split?
I actually thought that we were going to see a very similar Damwon when I initially saw this trade, because Khan for me was always this kind of aggressive player. He loved the Jaces back in 2017. And when I looked at Nuguri was the X factor in that top side. He required a lot of resources, a lot of vision to let him play that style. And honestly, I thought Khan was just going to be a side grade in towards that. But he's actually taken on a very different role in this team, opting in towards a Scion with 18 games, like double the amount of every other champion. And he's just provided a stability in that top lane from which the rest of the team can catapult into success with. And you can get those resources from Canyon, put in towards Showmaker, put in towards Ghost in the bottom lane, and then you can have these wonderful front-to-back team fights with the zone control that Khan is able to offer on picks like this Scion.
Yeah, I think Dagda nailed it right there. You know, you had Nogari on one side where you required a lot of resources, played a lot of carries, Fiora, Camille, Jace. Everything went into him, and side lane pressure was Damwon's way to win the game. I think you've got basically almost like 5 superstars on this roster, and you can see it from the champions alone. Nogari this year was playing things like Irelia, Jace, Renekton, so he does require a lot of attention, whereas if you have someone like Khan who has a lot more stability, most played Scion, likes to play things like the tanks, even the weak side champs like Gnar, just leave him to do what he does. He'll either go even or slightly ahead or even sometimes slightly behind, but that doesn't matter when you've got players like Canyon and Showmaker who you can put more resources into now that you have that stability.
Woodid yesterday commented that he actually prefers this version of Damwon slightly. I mean, there's also a great example that he can stabilize, right? Even in the finals in Game 2 versus Gen G, there was a bit of a top gap. He said it even in the interview after, but it doesn't matter if you have the amount of experience that he has and what he can bring to the late game team fights.
Yeah, a lot of positive for the team fights, a lot of positives for the front to back, like Dagda touched on. But I mean, Nogari was a very strong player. He was the best top in the world last year, arguably still very, very strong. So he was the X factor in a sense where he could clutch you out games on the split pushes, on the team fights as well. Things like the Kennen as well come to mind. So they are lacking that X factor, that clutch factor, but the stability is definitely helping them out.
Final note, maybe Khan is the oldest top laner in the LCK, and the man has been chasing an international title for quite a while.
Oh yeah, he came second the MSI against RNG, then he was on SKT. And then there was World Championship team. They lost in the semis MSI to G2. They lost in the finals to G2 again. And then he joins FPX, who won Worlds. And then they didn't find the success. Now he's joined Damwon, who won Worlds the year before. So it feels like Khan is a player who people respect. He's definitely a strong player. All these World Championship teams are picking him up. So he's definitely a force to be reckoned with. And I think we're going to see that this tournament.
That he is. Damwon is one of the many beloved rosters here at MSI, and with only 6 slots available in our Rumble stage, which is our next stage. The road ahead for these teams is very, very tough. Luckily for us, we have our beloved analysts here to illuminate their path. We took to Twitter to see what teams you wanted to hear Dagda and Kadril discuss. And Dagda, Twitter has decided that it is time for your insight on Gillette Infinity and the fast pay Wildcats. I think it is for Kadril, I believe. So, Dagda, go ahead for Team Infinity. Make your case.
Well, I'm delighted that I've been brought here. I love the epic music that's playing as well, but honestly, when I look at this team, I'm looking at this bottom lane and it is like the perfect blend of veterancy and rookie talent. Because when you look at White Lotus, he went to Worlds in 2017, Worlds in 2018, and then you bring in Ackerman, who was challenger at the age of 13. This guy was always going to be a monster coming into this game, and now that you've paired him with that veterancy, you get this creme de la creme, the beauty of the bot lane in which Infinity can put those resources. And look, some people might look at their stats and go, look, all right, you know, top lanes behind, jungle, mid. No, we forget about that. What we're focused on is the second we get towards team fights where Cody pops off.
Thank you so much for Zelik for sending in that suggestion for the Verizon 5G all chat. But that was a pretty compelling case, especially that Ackerman stat line. It pushed me across the edge. So the next one comes from Talhaka, asking to create a universe where the Wildcats, oh my god, I'm doing the same thing that happened yesterday. Just because they lost. The Wildcats make it out of groups using the Verizon 5G all chat. Wildcats, go ahead.
Well, Wildcats, although they lost yesterday against Pain Gaming, they had an early game lead. And I think solidifying an early to mid game lead is always good. It's good fundamentals, it's good basics to have. Closing the game out is a very easy thing to learn. I'm sure they'll adapt from that loss. And this is a team that was in the semifinals against Galatasaray. They were 2-0 down, they reverse swept their way to the semis into the finals. And I think that if you look at the game against Pain Gaming, the most recent evidence we have of this team, the side lanes were doing so well. Starscream was 1v2ing top with the set, getting double kills. The bot side, Holy Phoenix 4-0 on things like Samira. I think they should not overread into what happened yesterday. Just take it slow, keep sticking to their guns. I think they're still a strong team, and I think they'll find success and not overreading things. I don't want to see them try new different things and think that things were going bad. I think stick to what it was.
Okay, I was actually quite impressed by both of that. It just proves these are the best teams out of each region coming to the stage. So there will easily be something to defend them for here at MSI.
Yeah, definitely. They've definitely got their ways to show up. But they've got very hard groups to work with. So I think we'll have to see how the tournament progresses. We only really seen one game out of each team, barring Pentanet. But we'll have to see how they progress.
Indeed. And it is difficult to talk about our competition here at MSI without acknowledging the rich history and culture of our host country, Iceland, including their pride in their national football team. So today's Icelandic fun fact brings up the Euro 2016, where Icelandic fans became famous for performing their chant "Skål" during an impressive win against England's football team. And the Minnesota Vikings borrowed the concept with their own Skål chants that they used to celebrate wins in American football. I remember that day. It was glorious.
Yeah, if I don't get roasted on the desk, I mean, at least my country gets roasted for losing in the Euro 2016.
It was the one where it would like slow...
Yeah, I'm not going to do it because we lost. So
yeah, it's true.
I'll leave you to
I mean, you have to join the enemy then. That's how that goes. All right, cool. Thank you so much for that Icelandic fun fact. And with teams here in Iceland hoping for wins of their own, let's take a look at today's schedule. Dagda, which matches are catching your eye?
I'm looking at the cat fight, the second last game of the day. Fast Pay Wildcats versus Mad Lions. After seeing how strong Holy Phoenix was in that bottom side of the map, I'm really excited to see him go up against Mad Lions bot lane and see if he can manage that 2v2 against Karzi and Kaiser.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Detonation Focus Me versus Cloud9. I think the Detonation Focus Me yesterday, I think their draft was slightly poor. I think the Renekton mid, the Hecarim, there was a lot of too much comfort there, letting Steel go down to the last pick for jungle, getting banned out a lot. I want to see them on more of an 11.9 draft. Ari on more stability carries. I think he was a bit shaky getting solo killed level 3. I think there's definitely more to come out of this team, and I think that watching this game will tell us how Group C will unfold, because you'll expect LCK and LCS to be the ones getting out, but if DFM can make an upset perhaps, then there could be a little bit of drama going on there, but yeah, we'll have to see how it progresses, because then if C9 do dominate DFM, then maybe it does look like they are too weak to contest the top.
Exactly, we'll see what happens, and as we've mentioned, RNG will be playing 2 matches today as part of their group's quadruple round robin, and Laure was able to get some thoughts from RNG's top laner, Xiaohu.
Xiaohu, thank you so much for joining me. Great game on your return to the international stage. What does it mean to you to finally be back to represent the LPL?
恭喜你们拿下了这场比赛胜利，也是回到了 MSI 这个国际舞台嘛。对于你们来说，重新回到这个地方去拿下比赛胜利，意义是什么呢？感觉怎么样？
因为其实我在2019年之后就没有打过世界赛这种国际比赛了嘛，然后在2021年能继续参与 MSI 这种世界级的比赛中，我还是非常感到开心的。
I haven't been to any international tournament since 2019, so definitely it feels super great for me to be back on 2021 MSI stage.
Well, it feels great to see you as well. And I mean, the last time we saw you, you were playing mid lane, you role swapped to top. Can you let me know how it changed you as a player and how it changed your vision of the game?
因为上一次见到你在国际赛事还是中路选手嘛，那这一次你是转换到了上路，所以是什么改变了这个事情，以及说，对于这个游戏的话，你有没有什么一个改观的看法呢？
我之所以走上这条线，还是因为我们队伍里边可能缺少一个比较强力的上单选手吧。然后，还有什么？
就是你有没有改变说，就是对这个游戏的看法呀，或者说一些小小的改观这样的？
上单这条路比起中单来说，要做的事情可能会更简单一点吧，就打好对线、带好边线就够了。
So for me, I think. Being the top laner is what our team needs in the beginning of the season. So that's why I chose to go to top. And for the vision I change of this game, maybe that as a top laner, you actually did a little bit slightly less than the mid laner. So you just need to do your work and have your good role playing the side lane and push side lane too.
Oh, interesting, and I hope you can be as dominant as you were in the mid lane. But now focusing on your group, you have a very different group compared to the rest of the teams with 2 opponents, and you're the major region teams want to take down. Do you think there's something you should be careful about concerning those teams, or can we expect RNG to just dominate the group?
因为你们这个组其实跟其他的组有一些不一样嘛，我们只有3支队伍，而且我们是唯一一个大赛区，所以你觉得说有没有哪个赛区是你觉得需要去提防的，以及说怎么样去可以比较顺利的直接去出现？
所有的 MSI 队伍？
本组。
本组吗？有个 UL 是吧？
对。
我觉得 UL 队伍的话，在世界赛中还是带给我一些比较不错的印象的，对，可能需要提防一下。
I think Unicorns of Love because they impressed me before in the international stage, so I would say Unicorns of Love.
Oh yeah, interesting. And they always have crazy picks they're ready to bring onto the Rift. Last question for you, Xiaohu. I saw that your AD carry Gala impressed us so much during the LPL finals. He's a rookie here at MSI. Anything we can expect from him?
想问一下关于 Gala 的问题，因为他其实在决赛当中发挥的非常非常出色，而这一次是他的第一次 MSI， 也是国际赛事舞台，你对他有什么样的期待呢？
我觉得 Gala， 因为他也是作为 UZ 的下一任 AD 嘛，他给自己的压力也是非常大的，然后我希望他能承受起这份压力，并且打出自己的一片天地吧。
Since Gala is the AD carry after Uzi, so I just want him to take the pressure and perform really well at his first international stage.
Big shoes to fill, of course, but he did amazingly so far. Xiaohu, Shei for the interview, and thank you so much as well for the translation. Good luck on the next games.
Thank you very much. I love it. Like, what can we expect of him? Well, he's just going to have to fill those shoes and show up. Yeah, lovely to see. I'd love to get your opinion. Yeah, exactly. You're also actually a mid laner who swapped to jungle, and he swapped from mid to top. So is it true that mid lane is the hardest lane in the game?
Mid lane is the hardest lane in the game. So many different playstyles, so many different champions taking over. You saw Perks do it. I did it. Xiaohu did it. A lot of good players did it, right?
Yeah, I guess. Well, Xiaohu was instrumental yesterday in RNG's victory against Pentanet.gg. His support player Ming brought considerable value to the Rift as well, and I think supports are often overlooked, right? Everyone's talking about Gala's pentakill in the finals, but Dagda, Ming has been a Smurf for so long.
I absolutely love Ming. Like, Ming is by far my favorite player, and when I'm looking at this guy, and he's been such a large part of RNG for such a consistent point in time. Like, you look, he joined in 2017 with Uzi. They managed to get through the Ardent Sensor meta and got towards that semi-finals at Worlds. You then look at 2018, where they're going to have that golden road. They win spring, they win summer, they win MSI, and then we lost to G2 coming in towards Worlds. But again, then in 2019, we make it to Worlds once more. And honestly, as an RNG fan, 2020 doesn't exist either. But when you come in towards spring 2021, this is when we really see this team take off. And you're looking at Ming, and this guy right now, full bias, is making the case for the best support in the world. Like, the way he controls that early game down in the lane, his ability to get out and influence the map is second to none. And then when you look at those team fights as well, Ming is the engage tool. Ming is absolutely insane on picks like the Rel, the Alistair, any of these big engage tools. He will set up his team for success. And especially when you look at Xiaohu, who's playing these weird things in the top lane, like the Tristanas, the Jaces, I mean, even heck, the Sindras and the Orianas. Like, you need someone who's going to provide that. And that's where Ming picks up that mantle.
Yeah, and I think Ming's like a veteran at this point, right? He played for Uzi for a couple of years. Now he can help Gala a lot out in lane phase. And I think that if you look at the meta, especially, lots of the engage is coming from support. I mean, junglers are more carry-orientated now. Top laners, yes, you've got things like the Na, but we're looking at more split pushers, barring a couple of tanks here and there. Maybe an Urgot GP as well for team fights. So most of the engage will come from the bot lane, will come from support. And if you have someone like Ming on your team, that's just amazing.
That's really great. So in that regard, let's look at the matchup they have ahead of them. Pentanet. Pentanet, they lost 2 games yesterday, unfortunately, because they are in the quadruple round-robin situation. They lost both to the Unicorns of Love and to RNG. Dagda, I know it's not that easy, but what are some things they could do to have a better chance against RNG today?
Yeah, I think the big one for me is, like, we just highlighted Ming, right? I want to see Decoy off of things like or at least paired with something like the Jinx. I mean, I don't mind the Thresh pick, but when you're just stuck in the bottom lane with something like the Jinx, you're not able to keep Ming in check. And we saw yesterday that very quickly Ming gets out onto the map. He's playing through the top side. They're flashing for Krugs. They're like actually making plays on that top side. I think that's where I need to see an answer from Pentanet coming in, where they are actually roaming and trying to do stuff to shut this down. And as well, when I looked at Pentanet during their finals, they looked best when Decoy was playing through this mid lane alongside the jungler, getting Chaz ahead. And I just want to see more of that.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest thing that stood out to me in that game yesterday was when Pabu did his full clear, he stayed for the second respawn, whereas Wei based. And Pabu wasted a lot of time walking around the map. Wei had the information that he overstayed from a ward from Ming, from having the push in bot. And from that point onwards, Wei started invading his jungle with the base advantage. And from that point, if RNG even find a window to start walking in your jungle or forcing things, that's already bad news, especially when they have pushing lanes. So Pentanet, not only do they have to be careful with the early jungle clears and giving away too much information in the early stages of the game, they also have to be a bit careful in draft, because giving Rumble across to RNG first pick is not what you want to do.
Yeah, I thought that their flexibility was a great thing coming into MSI, especially when we find ourselves on a new patch, Dagda, but there is such a thing as going too crazy in draft when you've got such phenomenal opponents.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of questioning the Fiddlesticks when it came out. I was like, okay, look, we've kind of cool, but at the same time, I was like, you've left yourself too far in the draft now. I think it was 4th pick when they actually managed to pick that up. I would have preferred them seeing going towards something like the Udi or something that just gives a bit more comfort to them earlier, and then you can actually try to play out the map to the style that you want. It felt like RNG were very much prepared, and there was one, I think it was the 3rd Dragon fight, where we can look at Pabu trying to make this Fiddlesticks pick work. He's hovering over the wall. He's trying to make that ultimate come in. And RNG are just like, cool, we are very much aware that you guys are all over this Dragon Pit. We're just going to take mid tower. We're just going to keep pushing on. And then the whole game plan just fell away for Pentanet. So I think trying to hard force some of these picks sometimes actually comes back to bite you.
Yeah, Pabu has an Ocean Champion pool, so going into the later stages of the draft was fine for him, but the Fiddlesticks was a first time. And although we're talking about a lot of negatives here for Pentanet, they only really got 5 kills in both their games. In one of them, they got 4, and the other one, they got 1. Yeah, it is a negative in general, but Chaz was actually the bright spot of that team. I think Chaz was part of all 5 of those kills. His Lee Sin actually looked pretty decent against RNG. He had the push, he was contesting it against Crying, and he was actually able to move around the map and start team fights. There was a bot lane fight, I think most people remember, where they actually got a good engage. They took down Ming and Gala. It looked like they were going to win the fight, but then Wei came along the Rumble and got a quadra kill. So need to be careful in the draft, need to be careful where they find their windows, and they need to be careful in giving up too much information. Because if you look at Pentanet, brTT is the late game carry, Pabu is the early game bridge to get him to the late game. And if Pabu's giving up information early game and revealing where he's pathing, Wei can punish that, and then your AD carry has to give up more. And especially if you're playing Jinx into Rumble, Nocturne, Gnar, Kai'Sa, Nautilus, there's way too many things he has to be careful for. So maybe try to match the engage a little bit more with some more early game, or trying to give him more defensive tools to be able to deal with it. Because a Thresh Lantern ain't it.
No, it ain't it. As we are getting closer to that timer, since we have Dagda here, I'd like to get the maximum out of the knowledge we can get about the LPL, specifically, as you mentioned already. Wei, of course, made a name for himself on E-Star and unexpectedly catapulting that team into some important wins. But how would you describe him as a jungler, and what do you expect of him when we look at MSI as a whole?
So it's actually really interesting because Wei, at least at the start, I didn't expect to have a big impact on RNG. He was kind of like one trick of, okay, I'm going to get to level 3 and just gank bot. That was what the E-Star goal was. And once they got figured out, that's why they didn't go very far in Spring Playoffs 2020. So now coming into this iteration of RNG, though, he looks incredible. Like, he's so smart when it comes towards pathing. He's able to understand, hey, look, I'm willing to give up this a little bit of farm or CS experience so then I can actually play towards Xiaohu, but will then have really creative pathing to try and make up that deficit while having support of his team. So I think certainly when we look towards Wei, and especially when you look towards carries, I'm excited to see what Wei can do, because for me, Wei was the best Lilia that we had in the LPL. He paired super well with Ming on engaged champions like the Rel. So if we start to see these AP junglers rising in priority, like we already saw him with the Rumble yesterday, I think this is going to be a really, really strong split for him.
It's going to be a tough task for Pentanet. You're going to have to raise your call-outs on this one. Vedius did a lot of predictions yesterday. He was always wrong. I'm going to start off by saying RNG will take game 1.
All right, the easy path. Okay, we'll see what happens today. MSI 2021 got off to an explosive start on the new patch, and now it is time for more battles on the Rift and for day 2.
I believe that Cloud9 have the ability to come out on top. The question is, can they do it?
Perk is meeting Showmaker for the first time in the mid lane. This is a fitting matchup to kick off the tournament as MSI returns to our screens.
What's it like being the best mid laner at MSI? Pretty great.
퍽즈 선수 진짜 죄송한데 딱히 별 생각 없어서 다 부셔놓도록 하겠습니다.
The Perks holding on for dear life, not nearly enough to stop the coming storm. Showmaker unafraid. Dan1 Kia looking for their first win, and they're going to do it in style.
We had some good moments in the game, but unfortunately, they were just too strong.
10 years playing this game, and I still trying, dude. The last time I faced a Turkish team, I lost.
Sorry, Brazil. You have no chance. We beat you every year.
Holy Phoenix has been dominating.
We have better players, better synergy.
And the Wildcats are going ham!
Future is now, old man.
I live for this moment, to show the world that Brazil can do it.
Pain Gaming is going all the way in. CB Law come out swinging. Brazil gets their first dub at MSI.
PSG is the best team that we can face in our groups, but it felt really one-sided.
They leave him alive just to let him watch the Nexus fall.
We may have fallen today, but DFM, we're coming for it.
Armut, Soner senin için geliyor. Kendine dikkat et.
They trash talked that Armut will not go out of groups. We will see about that. PSG, a gente teve jogo agora de estreia e saímos com a vitória. Vocês são o próximo, fica ligado.